Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel Simplified Basic Concepts. In this video I am going to discuss about scientific management theory, which was given by Frederick Winslow Taylor. Dr. F.W. Taylor, who is Frederick Winslow Taylor, is the major contributor of this theory. That is why he is called as father of scientific management. Taylor's scientific management is popularly known as Taylorism. Taylor's philosophy of scientific approach was developed and popularized by his contemporaries and associates like Frank Gilbert, H. C. Gann, H. Emerson, and H. S. Person. Taylor defined scientific management in the following words. He said, "Scientific management consists in knowing what management wants men to do exactly and seeing to it that they do it in the best and cheapest manner." So, the scientific management theory given by F.W. Taylor is all about how the work should be done by the workers, and the management should see that the workers adopt the best and the cheapest way of doing the work. Taylor aimed at making management a science based on well-recognized, clearly defined and fixed principles instead of depending on more or less hazy ideas. So Taylor basically focused that when it comes to managing an organization, then it should be done in terms of scientific rules rather than adopting hazy ideas. But scientific management theories are, he said, that they should be science, not rule of thumb. The second principle is harmony, not discord. The third principle is cooperation, not individualism, and the third is development of each person to his greatest efficiency. So let's know what did he mean by these principles. So let's begin with science, not rule of thumb. Let's first understand what is the meaning of rule of thumb. Rule of thumb is a rule or principle that one follows which is not based on exact calculations. Rather, it is based on experiences. So, Frederick Winslow Taylor said that when it comes to managing an organization, one should not follow the rule of thumb. That is, one should not follow the old traditional rules which were based on experiences. Rather, the science should be used in managing the organizations. The rule of thumb methods are the traditional approaches that are suited for organizations which were in past. Taylor believed that there is only one best way of doing a work, and to maximize efficiency, that is through the scientific study and analysis. So he said that the best way to do a work and maximize efficiency is through the scientific way. So one should always adopt scientific methods rather than focusing on old traditional rules and methods. He said that the scientific method will save efforts and reduce wastages of the resources, and the scientific method should substitute the rule of thumb, which is trial and error method, which were earlier used in the organization. So this is the first principle which was emphasized by F.W. Taylor in his scientific management theory. The second principle is harmony, not discord. Now this principle lays stress on complete harmony between management and workers. That is, both the management and the worker should realize importance of each other. The management should share the gains of the organization with the workers, and the workers in turn should work hard and should be willing to accept change for the good of the organization. So Taylor basically stressed on complete mental revolution. Now, here by mental revolution, he meant complete change in the thinking process of both workers and the management. He said that the management and workers should change their thinking and should firmly believe that they both are important for each other and they should work in sync with each other. There should be complete openness between the management and workers. The management and workers should realize that their true interests are same and prosperity of employee and employer accompany each other. So, in the second principle, Frederick Winslow Taylor actually stressed on the synchronization of work between the management and workers. In an organization, these two are the basic pillars which, if will not work in synchronization, or which if will not be happy with each other, and there will not be openness between the management and workers, then it is very hard for the management to grow and also for the workers to survive and grow in that organization. So, both the management and workers should work in harmony, in peace with each other and for the growth of each other. This was the second principle of scientific management theory. The third principle is cooperation, not individualism. Now, this principle involves cooperation between management and workers instead of individualism. By individualism here, it means that the workers should not focus on their personal interest. Rather, they should focus on the interest of the organization on the whole. And on the part of the management, it is that the management should not only focus on their benefit, rather they should also consider the growth and benefit of the workers. Then only they should plan accordingly all the objectives and goals for the organization. So, the focus should be on attainment of group objectives rather than focusing on individual objectives. The management should listen to the constructive suggestions made by the employees and reward the suggestions which result in substantial reduction in time and costs. So, the management should listen to the constructive suggestions. Constructive means good suggestions which are given by the employees, and those employees should also be rewarded whose suggestions are good enough. This principle also suggests that the management should consult workers on taking decisions that affect the workers. That is, the decisions which can affect the worker directly or indirectly should always be informed to the worker and also can be consulted from the worker to a certain extent. Now, both management and workers should work in cooperation. The division of work and responsibility should be almost equal among them. So, this is the third principle which was focused in scientific management theory by Frederick Winslow Taylor. Now, the fourth principle is development of each person to his or her greatest efficiency. Taylor advocated that each person should be scientifically selected and then allotted work that suits his or her physical, mental and intellectual capabilities. While selecting the employees, proper care should be taken, and after selecting, they must be given jobs according to their qualifications, physical, mental and intellectual capabilities. Taylor said that selection of employees should be done in a better way, so that when the employees are selected, their qualities should match with the requirements of the job. That is, the physical, mental and intellectual capabilities of the employee should match with the requirements of the job, right? And the selected employees must be provided trainings from time to time to improve their skill and work performance. So these were the four basic principles which was focused by Frederick Winslow Taylor, which according to him can help the organization to work in a better way. right? Now there are certain techniques which were given by Taylor as per scientific management theory, and the techniques are work study, functional foremanship, mental revolution, standardization of work, and differential Pay system. First technique is work study. Taylor emphasized on examining and analyzing the work at the operational level of the organization. He said that it develops a systematic course of action and resolves the problems faced by the laborers and workers who are responsible for accomplishing the given task and duties. So under the technique of work study, there are 4 significant concerns of the organization. So in work study, the basic process of the work is being studied. So in this technique of scientific management theory, the basic work at the operational level of the organization is being studied. So he said that under motion study, fatigue study, time study, and method study, the ways to do a work is being subdivided. Under this technique of time study, Taylor focused on enabling the manager to find a standard time taken for performing a specified job. Taylor said that Fair's day work should be determined through observing and analyzing the study of an average worker having reasonable skill and ability. So an average worker is selected and assigned the job, and then with the help of a stopwatch, time is ascertained and performing that a particular job. So in time study, Taylor said that the basic focus is to find a standard time by which that job can be performed. And how can we find a standard job? Any average worker is selected and it is seen that how much time that average worker takes to complete that work. Now this time is taken by the help of a stopwatch. So if an average worker takes 8 hours to complete a particular job, so in time study, the standard time set for doing that specified job is 8 hours. Now any employee who joins that job will have to complete that work in 8 hours. If he takes more time, then it will be considered that the worker is underperforming. He is not performing up to the mark. And if some worker does the work in less than 8 hours, this shows that he is very efficient. He is taking time less than the average worker has taken. That is, he is taking time less than the standard time. So in time study, basically a standard time is being set for doing the work. Now, in motion study, the purpose is to eliminate useless motions and to determine the best way of doing the job. So here an attempt is made to know whether some elements of the job can be eliminated or combined, or the sequence can be changed to achieve the necessary rhythm. So motion study increases the efficiency and productivity of the worker by cutting down all wasteful movements. So when a work is being done at the operational level, then apart from time, if the motion of the workers are being controlled, then also the work can be done in an effective and efficient way. So motion study is the second parameter by controlling which the work can be enhanced. That is why this is the second point which comes under work study method. So in motion study, the wasteful, the useless motions are being eliminated and the best way of doing the job is found. By this, the worker can do the work more efficiently by eliminating or by doing unnecessary movements at the shop floor level in the organization. Now the third point which comes under work study method is fatigue study. According to Taylor, the task can be accomplished, that is, the work can be accomplished effectively and efficiently only if the worker is allowed to take the required amount of rest during the working hour. So under the fatigue study, the organization needs to plan for the following. Now, what are the things which the organization needs to plan under fatigue study? The number of rest intervals which a worker needs to take while doing work, the frequency of the rest intervals and the duration of rest intervals. Now, the number of rest interval means the organization here needs to decide the number of times the rest is allowed to the labor in a day. So, in a day, if the worker works for 8 hours, then what is the number of times the labor can take the rest in the duration of 8 hours? That will be decided under number of rest intervals. Now, what is the frequency of rest intervals? The time interval after which the employee's rest time is scheduled is termed as frequency of rest intervals. That is, can an employee take rest after every half an hour, or there should be a gap of 2 hours, or the worker can take rest after every 3 hours. Now, what is that time gap is decided under frequency of rest intervals. And finally, what should be the duration of rest intervals? That is, here the organization needs to determine the period of each rest interval. The rest intervals should not be such that the worker neither remains exhausted nor moves into a state of laziness. So, by balancing these, a rest interval, a time for taking rest for an employee is being made so that the employee is not very exhausted or feels very lazy during his working hours. Now, by doing this also, his work will be enhanced. And the fourth part is method study. Here the managers come across numerous ways of performing a particular task or carrying out the production of goods and services. So in method study, the focus is on selection of the most appropriate way of performing a task that should be cost effective, and it should also increase the production. So here we see that to do a work, there are 4 different parameters which should be kept in consideration, and by balancing these 4 parameters, the work of an employee can be enhanced at the operational level. So this is the first technique, work study method, which shows how can the work of an employee be improved. This second technique is differential piece wage system. Now this technique rewards the efficient workers and motivates the less efficient ones to improve their performance. Now in differential piece wage system, the wages paid to the workers are not fixed. It's based on the production capability of the worker. That is, if the worker produces less than standard quantity, then his salary will be deducted. And if the worker produces more than standard quantity, then along with salary, he will get additional compensation. So in this technique, the efficient workers are awarded with additional compensation, whereas the less efficient worker's salary is deducted. So the less efficient worker will always try to work hard so that he reaches up to the standard quantity and his salary is not deducted. So a differential piece wage system is being maintained here. Now this is a very good technique to motivate the employees to work harder, because if they will work hard, then along with salary there's also an additional compensation which they can get. The third technique is standardization and simplification of work. Taylor advocated that tools and equipments as well as the working conditions should be standardized to achieve standard output from the worker. So Taylor said that along with the tools, equipments, working conditions, if everything is standardized, then we will always get standard outputs from the worker. He suggested that there should be a fixed standard for everything. Now, by everything here, Taylor means the product standards should be same, the raw materials, the processes which are being used for production, that should be standardized. The machineries, working conditions, everything should be fixed and there should be a standard for everything. Now, this is to save the time and cost and to bring specialization in the organization. How specialization will come? Because if everything is standardized, if the steps are standardized, then everybody knows how to do their work correctly. And if all the employees are very much clear how to do their work, they will become specialist in their own profile, specialist in their own work. Now, what will happen? By this, their efficiency will increase. So, the task and the product line should be simplified enough to save the extended cost of tools, machines and labor by eliminating the unproductive task and narrowing the product line. So here basically Taylor says that unproductive products, that is the products in the organization which are not bringing too much of profits to the organization, should be trimmed, that is should be removed from the organization. That is, if an organization is producing A, B, C and D and they are getting very less profit from the product D, then they can stop selling product D and they can only focus on product A, B and C. So by stopping the selling of product D, they are narrowing their product line, and by eliminating the unproductive task means they can stop doing those works which are unproductive and which are only wasting their time, and it is not adding to any benefit or any enhancement of working hour or work in the organization. The next principle is mental revolution. Taylor gave a powerful concept on changing the perception of both employer and employees. He said that the management and workers should transform their thinking. Now, Taylor suggested that all the measures outlined in the system of scientific management will be fruitless, that is, will not be of any use, till the time there is a complete mental revolution, that is, there is complete transformation in the thinking of employers and employees, that they both are important from each other. Taylor suggested that all the measures outlined in the system of scientific management will be fruitless, that is, will be useless, until and unless there is a complete mental revolution on the part of both management and workers as to their outlook and attitude towards work and towards each other. So here Taylor says that there should be a transformation in the thinking of the management and workers, in their attitude and the way in which they look towards one another. The management must understand that the workers are also human beings and an essential part of the organization. So both of them must value, that is, must give importance to the efforts of each other and should create a positive environment to achieve common organizational goals and objectives. Taylor says that it is not possible for an organization to grow if the employees are not happy in the organization. Now, the last technique is functional foremanship. The functional foremanship, Taylor advocated that there should be separation of planning and execution functions. That is, in an organization, whenever there is a work, so Taylor said that there should be a separation of the planning part and execution part. This technique is an extension of principle of division of labor that results in specialization. We have read that whenever there is a division of labor, there is a specialization. According to Taylor, a single worker or supervisor cannot be expected to be an expert in all aspects. Under this technique, the two functions of planning and doing are separated in the organization of the plant. So, Taylor said that whenever we have got a work to do, so this work has got two aspects. The first aspect is the planning part, that is how the work can be done. And the second part is to do the work, that is the actual work, how it can be done. So the second part is the production part. So Taylor said that the planning part and the production part should be separated. That is, there should be different people who will plan how the work is to be done, and other set of people will be dealing with the production part of the work. So he said that there will be 4 people in the planning department who will be looking for how the work is to be planned, and there will be 4 different people who will be looking for the execution or doing part of the work. Now this will give functional foremanship. He said that if a work is being divided into planning and execution part, then he is using the principle of division of labor here. Now by using division of labor, this will finally result into specialization. That is, the worker will become specialist in their job. So under functional foremanship, under the planning part, there are 4 personals. The first person is route clerk. He is responsible to specify the route of the production. The second person is instruction card clerk. He is responsible to give instructions to the worker. So under the planning in charge, the 4 personals are route clerk, instruction card clerk, time and cost clerk, and disciplinarian. The route clerks is responsible to specify the route of production, that is the best route how the production can be done. That planning of it is done by the route clerk. The instruction card clerk is responsible to give instructions to the workers, instructions related to the work. And the time and cost clerk is responsible to prepare time and cost sheets, that is related to the work. The time and costs involved will be prepared by the time and cost clerk. And finally, the disciplinarian will be responsible to maintain discipline among the workers. The planning work is done. Now, in production part, the production in charge department, there are 4 personals. The first personal is speed boss. He will be responsible for timely completion of the job. So, he will see that the worker in the organization timely completes his job. Then the second is gang boss. The gang boss is responsible for keeping machines and tools ready for the work. That is at the shop floor level or at the operation floor level, the machines and tools, whether they are ready for the worker or not. If they are not ready, so is there any breakdown in the machines? All those things will be seen by gang boss. The repair boss is responsible to keep machines and tools in proper working condition. So the repair boss will see whether the machines and tools are in working condition or not. And finally, the inspector is responsible to maintain the quality of the work. So the quality part will be seen by the inspector. So these 4 people will see that how the production is being carried out by the worker. Now, if we see the functional foremanship, then by this diagram we can understand, that is, in a factory the work is being divided into 2 parts. The first part is planning part of the work, that will be seen by the planning in charge, and the second part of the work is production. So it will be seen by the production in charge. Now under planning in charge, there are 4 types of personnel: route clerk, instruction card clerk, disciplinarian, and time and cost clerk. Now these 4 people are responsible for seeing the planning part of the work. Then speed boss, gang boss, repair boss and inspector, these 4 personnel see that the production of the work at the shop floor level goes on conveniently and there is no problem. Now these 8 people will give instructions to all the worker in the organization associated with the completion of the work. So if there is a work A, first the work will be divided into planning and production part. That is, the work A is being divided into planning of the work A and production of the work A. Now planning part of the work A will be seen by these 4 personnels and production part of the work A will be seen by speed boss, gang boss, repair boss and inspector. Now all these 8 personnels will give instructions to those workers who will be working to complete the work A. So with this we come to the end of the scientific management theory. Do like and subscribe my channel, which is Simplified Basic Concepts. Thank you.